Good morning. Happy Monday. It is the week before Thanksgiving. Now, every kind of place I've worked at does this differently. I'm sure where you are does this differently, but we actually don't have the week of Thanksgiving off, and we don't have like a fall break or anything, because we end up having a December break, we have a February break, and then we have an April break because we are up in the Northeast. That's pretty typical up here in the Northeast, but when I worked in Vegas, it was very different. We don't have a fall break, and then for Thanksgiving, we just have a half day on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which makes it very hard if you ever want to travel for Thanksgiving, especially because teachers up here, you can't take a personal day or a travel day before an extended break, because you extend the holiday, which is not allowed up here. So that's fun, but I'm not going anywhere anyway, so whatever. So we have 5 full days this week. Last week was a funky week where we had Tuesday off for Veterans Day, and then we had a half day on Friday for some PD. So we have a full 5 days, which means we are wrapping things up and we are moving along. So I just finished up my plans for the week. So I thought this week I'd just kind of pop in and share with you kind of what we are up to. And then I'll also at the end of the week share anything fun that we are doing that is related to Thanksgiving. So I was looking at the plans, and for phonics, it looks like phonics we are running through the HMH program like we do, and that I will finish up next Wednesday. So full 15 days. I don't like to skip any days of phonics. I don't like to condense any days of phonics. I like to make sure that everybody gets their full 40 minutes every single day. So this week we are still working on those digraphs. We just introduced TH, the unvoiced, like thumb, and also voiced like feather. I talked about these before. So I always have my students put their hand here when they make the and th, so they can feel the difference. They feel the buzziness in their neck, and then they can also feel it on their tongue, like feather. We really, amp it up, so they can feel the difference. And then we practice blending words with all of those and all that fun stuff. Also, shark. There is one more digraph we will learn. That's TCH, but I don't think we learn that till later in the year. I'm trying to remember. Oh, you're right. It is. I don't think it is till later in the year. But the end of this unit, we're also learning NG, that glued ng sound, which is much different than they do in foundations. In foundations, we learn kind of ing, ang, ung, and ong all together, and then ink, ank, onk, and unk all together as glued sounds. Here, we're just learning that ng sound, which can come before a K and make unk, or it just is ng with the ng at the end. So that we will start in a couple days. So that will take us through next Wednesday. Just giving you a quick rundown of where we are. Finishing up this week, we're going to finish up our animal book. So later in the week, I will show you kind of where we are at. Today, we're teaching students how to write a conclusion. This is an added lesson that we are doing because for informative writing in first grade, they do need to have an opening. They need to have some details for the middle or the body of their story, and then they need a conclusion. But this unit doesn't have you write a conclusion. So that's a little frustrating when I'm trying to then grade it on a report card compared to a Common Core standard. So we're going to teach them how to write a conclusion, and they're going to add that to their story today. We have a cover page, a table of contents, and then some editing days, and that will be done by the end of the week. Also finishing up this week, we are finishing up those teen numbers. I did a whole video last week. It looks like this right here. This video shares some of my favorite activities. Really, the main focus here is teen numbers being seen as a 10 and then some ones, being able to compare numbers and being able to order these numbers. So that is the focus this week, and we'll finish that up by Friday as well. So once all of that is wrapped up, then I have Monday, Tuesday, and half a day Wednesday next week to do some fun stuff. So by Friday, I will have what I plan on doing next week, like anything fun, the read alouds I want to do. I love doing a stone soup unit, so I'll probably do something with stone soup and just compare all the different stories and everything. So all of that is going to be fun. Oh, I'm doing balloons over Broadway this week. These are some pictures last year of the kids. I think they did it during a WIN station last year. That's not going to work out because I have so many kids that leave during WIN, and I want everyone to be able to do this. So I do have it plugged in my plans, I think for Friday. I think it's Friday, to be able to do this all together. So students, what I do is I read Balloons Over Broadway. I think they actually read about it in Innovation. They've definitely heard the story before, but we read it, we talk about it, and then everybody gets the sheet that looks like this right here, and they have to plan out what color construction paper they need, what color balloon they want, and what kind of animal float they're going to make. And then they just kind of use their imaginations and make it their own. Here again are some pictures from last year. They come out so cute and so fun. It's like a fun way to send them off for the weekend. So that is on the plans for Friday. and then I'm gonna see what other fun stuff we have. All right, I'm going to get some stuff ready, and then I will pop in. I was just made all my copies and everything, so I will pop in and share some of the fun activities we're doing, and I'll share some slides with you too. All right, so looking at math, we're gonna start with a fill the grid, which I've shared before, but basically we come up with 4 different ways that we can make this number. My students can draw a 10 and a 1. They can do any sort of addition problem, any sort of subtraction problem. And then we're gonna talk about comparing numbers. So we're just looking at the 10s and the 1s here and the symbol. So we're doing this a few times with some representation like this. And then we're also using that place value knowledge to put them in order from greatest to least with 3 different numbers. And then I love, this is just like randomspinner.com. I've shared other ones before with not spinners, but they like open up a box. It's just an engaging way to pick random numbers, and the kids love getting to come up and kind of press the button. And then with their whiteboards, they're just gonna come and write the number, write how many 10s and 1s, and draw the symbol. So I'll have somebody come draw it on the big board, but then they'll also draw it on their whiteboards while sitting on the rug too. And then after we do that a few times, they'll do some pages in their workbook, and then they can go to ST Math. Good morning, happy Tuesday. I thought I would start this morning by sharing what we are up to in writing. So yesterday we went ahead and did our cover page for our book. So now we've got quite a few pages, and I can kind of share what that looks like in first grade at this time. Now I did share, we are doing our little all about book in writing. So students are doing this now. Again, we do it in May. And like I mentioned before, November first grade students are much different than May first grade students. So this is just our first time trying to kind of walk through this whole process. But we did do our cover pages, and so far their writing is pretty darn good. And I think they're very proud of their books. So let me grab somebody's folder and I will kind of walk you through the lessons we've done so far and also what they look like at this point. We have about, what's today? Tuesday. So we have the rest of the week to kind of finish them up, edit them, share them a little bit, and then send them on home. And next week we're doing some fun Thanksgiving Day stuff. So let me grab a folder. All right, I grabbed just one student's folder who I know has a little bit on every page. So first we started over here. What we did first, let's see, we read our book. Our book is, let me show you, Giraffes. This is our mentor text for the whole unit. So this is obviously a nonfiction book about giraffes, and we talked about different text features, which is what this page is right here. So we talked about different text features on this day, and then we found them in the mentor text as we read it together, and we put down the page number. This was a day we talked about a word bank, so we talked about some of the important words that were in the story. We also talked about how a lot of them were in the glossary, and how they helped us understand more about giraffes, why they were important to giraffes. Then here we had our brainstorming. So for this one, we gave students a list of 9 sea animals to pick from, just to kind of narrow it down a little bit. So starfish, crab, and shark were the 3 that he wanted to learn more about. And then they had to go ahead and pick one. And once they picked one, so he picked crabs, students went on to Pebble Go, and then he had to brainstorm and find out where my animal lives, what they eat, and some interesting facts about their animal. So I just told them they had to write just one for each at first, and then they can add more as time goes on. So then for their actual book, here, I'll cover up his name here. Here is the cover page. This is what we did yesterday, so he's not done yet. He's gonna write crabs at the top, or all about crabs. And then he's gonna finish his coloring. So that's the cover page. Let me move that out of the way. And then for our introduction, we just had them share they had to tell the reader what animal they're writing about, and then a reason why. So I like crabs because they are cool, because they can live in fresh water. So he kind of already went into a little bit about where they live, where crabs live. Crabs live in saltwater and freshwater, or freshwater. So he's gonna add a picture here. What crabs eat worms and snails. And last page we just did before we did the cover page was we add a fun fact and then a closing sentence. So crabs have 8 legs. I hope you enjoyed learning about crabs. So the next couple days he's going to go in, he's going to finish all the pictures, he's going to finish his cover page, and then we're also going to add a table of contents. So we're going to put a number at the bottom of all these pages. We'll all do this together and kind of put them in order, add a number at the bottom, and then create our table of contents for our little books. So they actually came out pretty cute. They'll have a little 4-page book at the end, 5 pages with their table of contents, and then they'll have a cover, and they are very excited to take these home and share them. And then I can't remember if I've shared this before, but this is their soundboard that they keep inside their writing folder. So we have the one that is up there with our sound wall that grows as we continue to learn sounds. But then we also have this one that goes in their writing folder. So they have all the sounds with them, especially which is important during their writing time. I can go ahead and link that down below. I have that along with my sound wall cards. So all the sounds and images do go with the HMH program. But I can totally link that if that's something you want to add to your own writing folder too. It's just a little freebie. I don't think I mentioned we're going to also edit. So not only are they finishing all the pictures and everything, but we are going to do a whole day on editing for cups, which is on the back of their folder. So I already have back here, cups checklist. So we do this every single time we do dictation and write sentences. We check for capitals, understanding, punctuation, and spelling. We will also do a kind of genre-based checklist. So we're going to make sure that we have all the parts that we need. Do we have an introduction? Do we have a closing sentence? Did we share what our animal eats and where our animal lives, and make sure we have all of that as well. And then they will be good to go. So that is what we are up to in writing. It's, again, really cute and fun. So I'm excited about that. And then let's see, in phonics, we are still working on those digraphs. So we introduced the 2 sounds of TH. I have some fun games that I will share with you that we are kind of up to, and then a couple other little things in math. So let me grab those. Hello, happy Wednesday. I did not, in fact, go grab those, as I said in my last clip. I had to do a couple other things. But since it is Wednesday, I did think I would show you what we are up to in WIN, so what we're reviewing. I will show you some of those, and then I did save some of the little games that we are playing and activities that I also wanted to point out that I will show you right here. Drive me crazy. All right, let me flip this around and I'll show you what we're doing in WIN. As you know, all of my WIN stations are kept down here. So for independent, we have our little 3-page packet here. First is read and match. I do have all of these phonics sheets now on TPT. I think I put them up either last week or the week before. Originally, they were all just in the club, but they follow similar layouts and just with different skills. So this one's CH, chat, chest, inch, lunch, chest, check, match, and bench. Cut it out and paste it to the correct area. So this one is decoding, of course. This one's going to be encoding, and this one's going to be for TH. So say, color, and spell. Bath, they have to do one for each sound. B-ath, write it down. Math, thick, cloth, sloth, and moth. So we do have 2 4-sound words. We have not introduced blends yet, but we are, in Heggerty, we are already tapping 4 sounds, so they are ready for this. So k, l, oth, and then they write it. And then just this little page here for writing the missing number. So they are just filling in some missing numbers within the number 20. For writing, they are writing what they're grateful for because next week is Thanksgiving. So here is a little picture of little Spot, my little thankful spot. They listen to this over on YouTube, and then they write down something they're grateful for with a picture to match. I put a little smiley face on it, usually make a comment, and send this off home. And then for math, I brought out my Number Sense task cards again. So I introduced these already to my students in small group when we did numbers 1 through 10, and I just took out the bigger numbers, but these are all through 20. So you can see some of them are going to be small. Here we go. But many of them, these go up to 20. So all they are doing here is they are figuring out the number, so 13, and then they can either circle it, they can clip it, they have all sorts of little tools they can do here. 19, 2, easy peasy. So that's this one. Show the number. So for this one, they can use cubes, or they can just use dots, but they have all the numbers here through 20. If I could find one that has 2 10 frames. Really? There we go. 15. So they have to draw 15 and fill it in. This one here is roll and fill. So this one, they have little jars here, and depending on how many dice the guy is holding, this will show how many they need to draw inside the jar. So this one has 1 die, so they will roll 1 die. Whatever they land on, they draw it in. This one has 3, so it goes up to 18, not 20. But whatever they get, they'll have to draw that many little buttons or little dots inside. This one has 2. So it's either 1, 2, or 3, and then they will draw that many inside. which I like. So a couple of different ways. Again, with all of my task cards, I try to show different ways to access the skill. So here they're showing it in 10 frames. Here they are, you know, adding it up on the dice and then showing it. Here they're actually looking at the number and then finding it, so backwards. Here we have count and write. For this one, I want them to be writing the number word. So we don't do a ton of practice with this, but the numbers again go to 20. So they have to count up all the bears. And then the number words are on the back there on my number posters. I can link those down below too, by the way. Do I need to zoom in? They are all up there. So once they find that number, they go ahead and write it down here. So they're practicing the number word. And last one is count and cover. Plop it open here. Where they have to count up how many are here. I usually have them cross it out because they are not organized correctly. So they make their 10 first. So they'll either circle it or cross out. And then they have to find, so this one I'm guessing is 14, because they have to find all the ways that it shows 14, including the number word. People have asked before when I actually get to use my task cards, because I do obviously have a math curriculum that we follow, and the task cards don't like slide right into that curriculum. Win time is almost always when I use them, but then also on our review days. And I think I've mentioned this many times before, but when we are finishing up a math unit, the day before we assess, I like to do a review day, and that's like my stations day. And on that day, some students maybe will do a game together, or they'll do those task cards. Sometimes they'll do an IXL activity, whatever it may be, but there'll be like 3 or 4 stations that we rotate through. And during that time, every single child is rotating through me here at the back table. And this gives me hands-on, eyes-on opportunities to see how that child is doing with the skill before I assess it. So that's a really good place, because sometimes, this doesn't happen often, but sometimes I will be teaching a skill and we're about to assess it, and kids come back to me and there's like something in particular, like fact families, for example, that they all just like don't get. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to assess you tomorrow. I'm going to do a fact families lesson one more time, and then I'll push off the assessment, or I'll do it after that kind of lesson. So it just gives you a little more insight. And again, it allows every single child to come back to me, and it allows me to see exactly how they're doing and where they're at before they do that assessment, which I really like. Which, speaking of review days, we actually had one today, and one of the games they played, since the task cards were already in win, we played one more, one less cover up. Now I got way too close to my face. I have this game in 3 different versions. So we have played this before with 1 die, and the numbers are obviously different. And here we have it up here with 3 dice. I also have it with 2. Let me flip the camera and I'll show you how this one is played. So this game is pretty simple. All they will do is grab those 3 die, they will roll them and find the sum. So let's pretend they roll 3 dice and they get a sum of 12. If they get 12, they know they are not coloring 12 here on the sheet. They can color one more than 12, which is 13, or one less than 12, which is 11, and they're just going to color one little hexagon in. And then the other person goes, and they go back and forth and back and forth. Now, there are a ton of hexagons here, so this is usually a 2-day game. So I have students with each of their colors just write their name on top, and then they get to play this over 2 days with one another before determining who colored the most and who gets to take it home. But again, it's just a nice way for them to recognize one more and one less. And like I said, we have this in stages. So we did play this already with just 1 die. We didn't end up playing it with 2, but now here we are with 3. And I did also share this game last week when I talked about some of my favorite activities for teen numbers. But I pulled one of my lower groups back who were really struggling with this concept of like 10s and 1s. And we played this game, which is roll, count, and color. This is the recording sheet. They have player 1 and player 2. So I just cut this down the middle. And then all they do is they put their cube on their starting area, they roll their dice, and they move that many spaces. And what I'm looking for them to do here is, again, start with that 10 and then count on with the 1s. Now, what I'm really looking for now that we're in like the 2nd week of this is I want them to be able to see 10 and 3 is 13. If they still need to go 10, 11, 12, 13, that's fine. But I am really looking for them to be moving on to just, oh, here's 1, 2, 3, 13. Sometimes they even just count the 1s. 9, 19. And I'm like, yes, that's that next progression, right? They're really seeing that 10 as a 10, and they know that they can just add it on to make that teen number, which is very nice. I'm trying to think, that's really kind of all we're up to. Those are some of my favorite activities that we're doing this week. I showed you our animal books. Today we actually wrote the table of contents. So we went and numbered each of the bottoms of the pages, and we added, what was it? Page 1 was my favorite animal. Page 2 was what my animal eats. Page 3, where my animal lives. Page 4, fun facts. So those books are just about done. Starting tomorrow, we will go through and really edit those books. I'll call small groups to the back table so we can go through each book, see what they need, capitalization, punctuation, do they have all the parts, and so on. And then those will get sent home for phonics. For phonics, some of the fun things we do, like we have Friday coming up, we will do a decodable text, which is not like fun, but they do like to read and illustrate it and add it to their fluency folder. So we'll get another one of those. We will play this game right here, Read in Color. It's one of my favorite decoding games. If we have time next week, we'll probably do Spin, Say, Spell, which looks like this right here. This one is our encoding game. I always like to do a game for each. They have played those many different times because I have them for all different phonics skills. So they've been able to do that no problem. So I think the last thing I really just wanted to share with you were just some of the fun things I'm going to do next week for Thanksgiving. Balloons Over Broadway, I think I talked about this on the first day, but we are going to do, I know I did because I wanted to put in pictures. So we're going to do that Balloons Over Broadway activity, which is fun. A couple years ago, I made these turkeys, and I still have that paint, and I have the little cardboard, and it was just, there's no academics involved at all. But it was just like a fun, cute little thing. So I think if I have time on Monday, because we have Monday, Tuesday, and then a half day Wednesday, I think if I have time on Monday, I'm going to have us do that just because they were so cute, and why not? And they're like a fun little thing to take home. So we might do those little paintings. And then I did find these STEM activities on TPT where they're going to make like a turkey trap. They make a little Thanksgiving table. I'm going to do that. And we're going to do some stone soup. It sounds like a lot to do in 2.5 days. We're still teaching phonics, but I have win time. You know, I'm going to plan for it all, and we'll see what happens. We'll see where it takes us. But I don't know if I'm going to make a video next week because it is only 2.5 days. So in case I don't, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I'm very thankful for every single one of you that watches my videos. I love sharing with you guys here on YouTube. I'm, again, thankful for every single one of you that decides to press play and kind of join me on Sunday mornings and see what we're doing in first grade. I hope you find it helpful. So that's the fun that we're up to. If you have any questions, comments, anything you ever want to share with me, please always let me know down in the comments. Quick little reminder, I am presenting at the Educator Summit this winter. Use the code Susan and I will link it down below in case you want to see my session and tons of other great sessions that go along with this PD. It's entirely virtual. You get to watch it at your own pace. You have access to it for months. It's great. I absolutely love it. I love that whole organization. So it's a wonderful thing to be a part of, and if you've ever seen any of my sessions, I hope you've enjoyed them. All right, I'm going to end the vlog here. As always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.